Oh, summer steelhead, baby, summer steelhead. First summer trip of the year. Woke up with a hangover, got a headache. Forgot to get ice in the old 𝗛𝗥𝗏 bag. So that means if we catch one, we're pretty much gonna leave and not catch another one because I'm not gonna let this thing cook out here. Got camera boy Alex over here getting stuff ready. Let me get in here, dude. I gotta get my waders.
Waders?
Looks fire. All right, addicts, welcome to another episode of Addicted. Today what we're gonna do is we're doing a little bank fishing for summer steelhead. This is actually my first trip of the year. Super excited about it. Did I just hear a fish roll? Sounded like a fish just rolled. But what I thought I'd do today that might make the video a little bit fun and educational for you guys is I'm gonna actually run through all of my summer steelhead setups that I brought today to try to catch some fish, and then go out on the water, show you guys how I fish them. So kind of like a little bank fishing how-to, but the goal is to still catch one today. So I'm gonna start with this fixed float setup here, which I've had rigged for an extremely long time. So I am just going to cut it off and re-rig it all because we don't want to risk anything breaking off. And I used this all last winter and everything. So we're just gonna start from the top, retie it all, and show you guys how we do it. So first we're gonna start with the rod. I like to use a little bit lighter rod when I'm summer steelhead fishing. So this is a 10-6, 6 to 12 pound rating. So it's got a really, really nice tip that you can flick that bobber out there with and really lightweight, but still gives you enough length on the bigger rivers to keep your line out of the water. And I'm going to show you that when we get out there, show you the different mending techniques. And then what I've done is paired it with an Okuma 3000 ITX. Really like these reels, 6 to 1. They're super light. As you guys know, Okuma is one of our sponsors. We love Okuma, but anything that's in that 9.5 to 10.5 foot range, 25 to 3500 reel series is going to work for you out here for summer steelhead. Now, I got a 40 pound Addicted Enforcer orange braid on here. I like to be able to see what my line's doing when I'm fishing, so I always use something that's high vis. And then I use a 40 pound because the diameter of the line is going to help it float better on the water, which is going to be really important when you're fishing these fixed floats. Okay, so now what I've done is I've taken about 4 or 5 feet of 15 pound tough line fluorocarbon. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this braided line, I'm going to take this fluorocarbon, I'm going to tie a double uni knot. I'm not going to really show you guys this because there's a ton of different videos online that are way more in depth showing these knots. So I'm not going to get super in depth. I'm just going to tie it really quick and show you. So basically what you do is just loop your braid like this, and then you're just going to wrap around the blade and the fluorocarbon through that loop about 5 or 6 times. Just like that, and then you're going to pull that knot tight. And then you're going to take the other side, which has the fluorocarbon, and you're going to do the exact same thing. Loop it, wrap it 4 to 5 times, 5 to 6 times, whatever you like. Typically, the more you wrap it, the bigger the knot's going to be. So I typically do 5 or 6. And that keeps my knot about the size that I want it. And then with fluorocarbon, you always want to wet that line, because if not, it'll have a tendency to burn, and then it will break a lot easier. So with this one, you're just going to kind of work it until you pull that thing tight on the braid. And then you're going to grab both ends of the line. You're going to start to slowly pull those together, just like that. So now what you've done is you've created a really nice strong knot that you can cut each tag end off here. Try to get as close as you can without cutting the knot. And then let's make sure you guys take those tag ends with you. The last thing we want is a bunch of pieces of line floating around out here in the Great Pacific Northwest. So I usually just grab them and throw them in my backpack, clean them up later. Okay, so as you can see, that's a really fine knot. It's going to be able to move through your eyes, not get stuck on anything. One thing I always do after I check it too is just make sure there's no little nicks or anything in your line, which there's a little nick right there. So we're going to get rid of that. Okay, so next up, we have our Addicted Mustad fixed float. So as you guys know, I get questions all the time. What size is your float? Is it 1/4 gram? Is it a gram? Is it 1/8? What size is it? This is meant to not have a size, because what this is this is a fixed float system. So if we start with the float bare just like itself, if we start with the float bare by itself, what we've done is inside this float is an internal weight that is sucked down, basically sinked into the balsa wood to balance the float. And then what we do is we give you these little brass weights. And what this allows you to do is if you throw this thing out here just like this, it's not going to have a lot of weight on it. So what you're going to want to do is pair it with something that's heavy. So if you have no weight on here, I'm typically fishing like over a quarter, like maybe even a ½ ounce will float with no weight. So then what you do is as you downsize your jig presentations, you start adding weight to the float. So when I'm fishing an 1/8 ounce, I'll typically have 2 of these brass weights. If I'm fishing a 1/4 ounce, I may only have 1 or none of the brass weights. And what it's going to do is it's going to allow this float to track in the water exactly how you want it. So it's going to sink that float down in there so it's moving perfectly with the water exactly how you want it to. It's going to take some time to dial it in and take some practice to really figure it out, but once you get this system figured out, it will fish any system of river like this, especially medium to smaller sizes, better than any float you'll ever use, because it's going to allow you to adjust the tracking of the float with whatever you're fishing and make sure that it's moving absolutely perfectly through the water as naturally as possible. Okay, so I'm going to fish an 1/8 ounce today, guys, so I'm going to start with 2 weights here. I'm going to put 2 weights on there, and then what you have is you have this little O-ring. So you're going to put that O-ring on there, and that's what's going to secure your weights onto the float. What you do is you take that line, you're going to thread that through that tube. And what this is going to do, guys, is if for some reason your top and bottom surgical tube breaks, you're not going to lose your float. It's going to still be on the line. You're going to wet that top of that float just a little bit and get that first surgical tube worked onto the float here, just like that. So now we got one of the surgical tubes, and then what we're going to do is you're going to take another piece of surgical tubing, you're going to thread that through the line here. You're going to wet this, slide that tube on just like that. So now what you have, guys, is you have a float that is fixed to the fluorocarbon that you can easily adjust up and down. I'll show you when we get out to the water here. It needs to get more wet. I don't want to burn that fluorocarbon. And then what we have here, an 1/8 ounce Sink It series addicted jig, guys. These are on our website. You guys know that we love these things. What we've done is we've taken proprietary fiber that just holds a really, really nice body in the water. This is actually a new jig that comes out this year. We're gonna tie this thing on here. I don't do any sort of little fancy knots or anything, guys. I just do a basic fisherman's knot, wrap it 6-7 times, snug it down like so. And then you're gonna cut that tag end off of there. All right, Alex, so another thing that you can do that's really gonna help you catch a lot more fish out here summer steelhead fishing, use bait. Whether it's raw prawn, coon shrimp, whatever. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut these a little bit, and then I'm going to tip my jig with these baits. You're literally just gonna thread that through there and just tip it. You're gonna get a few casts out of it before it falls off. Just adds a little extra enticement to your jig. So Alex, as I was talking about, you can easily adjust this float up and down depending on the depth of the water you're fishing. So what I typically will do, Alex, is I'll start shallow and then I'll work my way out deep. So I will run it, you know, 2-3 feet on my first cast before I drag it through there. And then I always start in close first. Never go casting all the way across the river, just in case you have any spooked fish. Let's hope we can yank a couple out of here, Alex. So what we're gonna do, Alex, is we're gonna float fish this first, and then we're gonna basically run a spinner, and then we may run a coon shrimp as well, depending on how feisty I'm feeling. So then I'm gonna make my next cast a little bit farther out, and then what I always do is kind of hold my rod really, really high into the air, just like so, I don't know if you guys can see that, but you want to hold your rod as high as you can to keep that line off of the water so it doesn't drag your float down. The idea is you want this float to be floating down the river as natural looking as possible to trick those fish to think it's something, a bait, a bug, who knows what they think it is, but they eat it. So after you've kind of covered the water addicts like if you think you've like, okay, I've covered it good, basically what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start either walking downriver, I'm gonna start walking upriver, and I'm just gonna start working every little seam, every little pocket, every little area of river that I think, okay, that could hold a steelhead. Oh, try not to fall, try to be careful out here, addicts. It's dangerous out here in these streets. But there's a nice little shaded section of water over here that looks way too good to pass up. So we're gonna get a little dangerous here and go try to get a cast. Oh, might help if you flip the bail there, addicts. Well, addict, tried hard. I really thought this hole was gonna be the hole. Fished it really hard with bobber and coon shrimp. Didn't find any fish, so. Okay, addicts, I fished the float rod for a little bit. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch to a spinner. With a spinner rod, I like anything that's like a 7.5 up to like a 9 foot pretty much with a spinner rod. This is just my Okuma twitching rod. It's a 7.6, 8 to 17. I got some 30-pound Addicted Enforcer braid on there in green. So, and I did 30-pound just so I can really wing that spinner out there and cast it really far. And then I have a size 5 torpedo body. This is just a Prime Lure Company spinner. It's got a copper blade, 2/0 Mustad hook. And we're just gonna go out here and see what we can do. Hopefully we can get one to go react on a spinner. All right, guys, so a lot of times with the spinners, I like to actually fish them. I'll cast upriver and fish them kind of down into the hole and just really let it kind of just work down and make sure I'm right down in those fish's face. And a lot of times when it comes by them that quick on a downriver approach, they can't resist it. So we're gonna kind of just keep taking a couple steps down. All right, everyone, we've moved locations. We've come up river just a little ways, basically got into some more canyon-y, deeper. The water's a lot lower than what I expected, so I think these fish are gonna be kind of up in these canyon areas because it just looks so beautiful. So much oxygen for them, lots of things to hide under. So I moved up river. I'm gonna get set up here in one of these deep holes and show you guys this coon shrimp setup here pretty soon. One thing I wanna stress when you're out here, guys, is like, if you're gonna be by yourself, which I know a lot of anglers do, just try to be really careful walking around down here and on any rocks or any canyons where you're by yourself. So a lot of these rocks are really, really slippery, super dangerous. So if you're by yourself, be really careful, but I'd recommend always being with someone. Always have a buddy with you. Yeah, looks like a great place for something to hide, huh? When I'm fishing through these runs, addicts, with the float, I'm trying just to like make my first cast in close, and again, just continue to work your way across the river and cover every inch of it. Because sometimes these fish will be picky and they're not gonna move far for it. They want it to hit them in the face. All right, everyone, I fished the jig through quite a few holes and I'm not had very much success yet. So I'm gonna switch to something a little different. I'm sure you guys know exactly what I'm going to, don't you? I'm going to the trusty. Going to the trusty worm, baby. So when I fish these worms, addicts, as you can see, I cut about an inch off. I basically cut it right at the collar. And then what I'm gonna do is thread this thing on there. Like so. And contrary to what a lot of anglers out there think, summer steelhead will absolutely 100% eat worms. And I've caught a lot of fish on worms in the summertime. So definitely don't think that they don't work, because they do for sure. And I've caught a ton of fish on them. Especially if you use, you know, subdued colors like reds and blacks and stuff like that, you can catch a lot of fish on worms. So there we have it. 1/8 ounce addicted head, red pearl worm, game time. The one nice thing I love about worms, addicts, is I know that these fish are definitely seeing that worm go down there. So if you get one that's aggressive or hungry at all, he's gonna come eat it. We just have not found that. We have not found that willing biter yet. We'll find him. He's in here somewhere. Oh, if there's one thing I hate more than anything, it's a downstream wind when you're trying to float fish. It is the worst.
Oh, that guy grabbed it. That was cool.
Some action. Oh, quick release, perfect. Okay, addicts, we've tried spinners, we tried jigs, we tried worms. Nothing seems to be working, so I'm gonna go to a bait setup now. And so the way I rig this up is I have my bobber stop. I just got a rubber bobber stop on the line. And then I have what's a sliding float. So this is gonna allow me to fish at any depth that I want, basically. Then what I have is an inline bobber weight. You just tie that directly to your line, and then your leader is gonna come off of this. So to fish these coon shrimp, you first gotta start with a bait hook. So I'm just gonna tie an egg loop onto this 3/0 mustad hook here. And if you wanna know how to tie an egg loop, just look on YouTube. There's a ton of different videos showing you how to do this. I got my egg loop tied. Basically what I did is I cut this down to about 3.5, 4 feet. Depending on the holes that you fish is depending on how long your leader length is gonna be. So you're gonna wanna adjust that if you're fishing deeper holes. So then you're gonna take that other side of that inline. You're gonna just tie that leader on to that other swivel end. All right, addicts, now that you got your leader tied on there, the last thing you wanna do is add a split shot about halfway down this line, just to help keep that leader down there. You don't want to crimp that on there too tight, but you definitely want it snug so it's not sliding around too much. But you want to be able to adjust it up and down if you need to. but I typically will put it about halfway through just to make sure my leader's staying down there. You're gonna wrap that egg loop around the tail, and you don't want to pull it like super tight. But that's it, just like that.
That wasn't the bottom.
Sure didn't look like it, did it? I don't think there's anything keeping him away. Oh my God, I just had one. Oh my, I seriously looked at you, like when you said that, I was like, I don't think there's anyone keeping, and I looked back, my bobber was gone. Oh, I did not get a good hook set, but I felt him like, yeah, as I hooked him. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. All right, everyone, it's a couple days later. I wasn't able to seal the deal that day on getting a fish, and I really wanted to catch one for this episode. So I brought out the legend himself. We're gonna see if we can put one on the bank. I got some exciting news though. So as you guys know, we started a channel for Jordan. We're gonna be starting another YouTube channel for Cameron. And the whole concept of this new YouTube channel, it's gonna be a lot just about the fishing and really just the life of a fishing guide in the Pacific Northwest. I'm excited to launch it for you guys. We've been working on it for a while now. I don't know an exact date of when it's gonna come out, but stay tuned. Cameron is gonna have his own channel as well soon. Fish! Oh, he's jumping, baby. On the old nightmare worm comes through.
Fish took a nice jump.
I'm just gonna drag him. I can see clear as day it's a hatchery. Oh, he's pissed. He is pissed. Thanks, dude. Oh, that is a stud.
Dude!
Holy crap, he's pissed.
Look at that one.
That's a stud, dude.
Good fish, man.
On the old frickin' nightmare worm, baby.
Who'd have thought?
Oh, he is slimy.
Landing of a 10-pounder easy all day.
We made it happen, addicts. We made it happen. I hope all these techniques that we showed you in this video, you know, I showed you how to float fish, I showed you how to spinner fish, and I showed you how to use bobber and coon. Inevitably, just the regular float fishing with either a jig or a worm paid off. Let's give this thing a real bonk. There he is, folks. Yeehaw. All right, everyone, we made it happen. We got a steelhead on the bank. I really hope you guys enjoyed that video. I tried to make it super educational and just show you guys a bunch of the techniques that I use when I'm out bank fishing for steelhead. So drop your questions below if you guys have any. I'll be sure to check the comments and respond to anyone if you guys got any question. Once again, we really so much from the bottom of my heart appreciate the fact that you guys watch all of our videos every single week. It means the world to us. And do not forget, Tuesdays and Sundays, every single Tuesday, every single Sunday, we put out videos on addicted fishing. So if you're not watching the Tuesday ones and you're only watching the Sunday ones, start tuning in 6:30 on Tuesdays, 6:30 on Sundays. That's when we put our videos out. Once again, thanks for the support, everyone. We appreciate you. If you guys want to see another cool video that we made, click this one right here. You're going to love that video. And then if you're new, here's a little button you can hit subscribe. If you're not new, go down here below if you can. There's a little button. It's a little bell. Click that bell. Just click it and turn your notifications to all. Then what it's going to do is it's going to send you notifications to your phone so you know when we put these videos out. So appreciate all you subscribers out there. Thank you so much. Here's today's comment of the day, and we'll see you on the river.